crowd. And I really think this is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together, whether it's Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative. It would be so nice if we could come together and straighten out the world and straighten out the problem.
There you go. That was Donald J. Trump last night as he wins the Iowa caucuses, running away, as we expected, by 30 points last night in the caucuses. I mean, this thing, whether you like it or not, the primary is all but over. Good morning. Welcome in on a Reaction Tuesday morning. It's good to be here on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. The turnout was not good last night. To put this into perspective, it looks like the final tally of votes in Iowa in the caucuses, 110,000 votes were cast. To put that into comparison, back in 2016, during those Iowa caucuses, the number was 187,000. So down roughly 45% from the numbers of just 8 years ago.
Here I was bragging on him yesterday.
I know.
Still, the weather.
The weather was brutal.
Yeah,
Listen, minus
absolutely.
40 wind chill. I will excuse Iowans for staying at home.
How many people wanted to participate in their car wouldn't start?
I'm sure there were a few of those.
It wasn't them, it was the vehicles. Right?
How many dead batteries were floating around the Hawkeye State yesterday? Mm-hmm. So it was not a good turnout, but the numbers are basically what we expected. I said if Trump gets over 50, this thing's over. And he came in at 51% on the dot. And not only that, there was not a convincing second. Ron DeSantis at 21%, Nikki Haley at 19%, which means they're neck and neck, but being neck and neck back 30 points is not exactly where you want to be. If Ron DeSantis had a convincing showing, 35%, and Trump came in at 44%, there might have been a conversation to have here. There is no conversation to have. Donald Trump is going to be the nominee. Maybe Nikki can pull off a win in New Hampshire. That's entirely possible, I suppose. But then you go to South Carolina. That's Nikki Haley's former state. But as a lot of the national pundits have noted in recent weeks, she didn't leave that state, with people slapping her on the back saying, "Oh, Nikki, we're going to miss you." Not that she was disliked, but she wasn't exactly the rock star at the end of her tenure, and that oftentimes happens to politicians at the end of their tenure. So the biggest question I had yesterday was whether or not Donald Trump would top 50%, and he did. And that's where I don't see the path for anybody else going forward. Now, there is a CNN town hall tonight with Ron DeSantis, which I had no idea was happening. It's moderated by Wolf Blitzer. So who scheduled this for Ron DeSantis? Let's schedule a town hall for the night after. I get it. It's been on the calendar for a while. You got to go on to New Hampshire. I guess he's not going anywhere. He's probably not going to announce tonight at his town hall with Wolf Blitzer that he's dropping out of the presidential race. And Wolf won't look surprised anyway because Wolf Blitzer looks like he's permanently sitting on the can. The guy looks like he's always constipated. But anyway, that's a strange move for the DeSantis campaign. What do you say after you're licking your wounds and you put all your chips on the table in Iowa? And Donald Trump won 98 of 99 counties. The only one he did not win, and he lost it by a single vote, was Johnson County, Iowa, which is where the University of Iowa is located. So more of a suburban-ish district.
Johnson County.
Yes. So Nikki Haley got a one-vote victory. Literally, 1,271 to 1,270. Nikki Haley over Donald Trump. That was it. Now, if you want to find the weaknesses for Donald Trump, it's where, in many cases, we would expect them to be. He did very well in the rural areas, small towns, rural communities. But where he struggled, and it's a relative use of the word when you win by 30 points, But where Trump is less strong is in more urban and suburban parts of Iowa, places that have slightly more college graduates as a percentage of their adult population. So that's always going to be the issue. And that's going to be the biggest question as we go full steam ahead to this rematch between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Can Donald Trump pick up voters in suburban areas and more college-educated areas, i.e. Johnson County, Kansas? Can he perform better in places like Johnson County, Kansas, all over the country? That's the biggest question for Donald Trump. And listen, I think Joe Biden has done and has been such a terrible president on domestic policy, on foreign policy, on economic policy, that a lot of those voters may just do it and pinch their nose and not admit to their friends that they ultimately did it and came out in 2024 and voted for Donald Trump. But that's what this thing is going to come down to. Not can he win these places, but can he at least close the gap? You know, Trump is strong with his base. We know that. That's not changing anytime soon. We saw it on full display last night. The polling has reflected it. But can he start making gains in suburban areas with more college graduates where turnout is oftentimes always very high? Because the idea of simply turning out, and there's nothing wrong with turning out a rural, smaller town base. You want to do that, and Trump is ironclad. He's got a grip on that voter. But can he do it in places where you have enormous numbers of people, much larger populations? That's where he's got to see his success. I mean, it's crazy to say it, but now it feels like we're just going to be talking about November. Like Super Tuesday, if there's a winner in all this, I actually came out a big winner last night. I don't know if you know this, but here's why I came out a huge winner last night. We have our third daughter coming on March 9th. And for a couple of months, I've been like, oh boy, Super Tuesday is March 5th. I hope this kid comes a little early. That way I can be back for Super Tuesday. It doesn't matter. I don't even know if there's going to be a Super Tuesday. I don't know if Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis are going to be around on Super Tuesday. You know, maybe, what's his name? Asa Hutchinson from Arkansas is going to be hanging around for some reason because he's bored. But there is unlikely to be any kind of serious Super Tuesday. But for 6 months, I've been like, oh, man, kid's coming March 9th. Hope the kid doesn't come on Super Tuesday. That would stink to miss the day after that. But now I throw my hands up and I say, well, I'm not sure that day is going to matter when all is said and done, because I don't see any path forward for Ron DeSantis, and I certainly don't see any path forward for Nikki Haley, even if she ends up pulling off a win in New Hampshire, because that's a unique state. That is an open primary, and anyone and everyone can go in there and vote. And it's just different from what you see in most states around the country when it comes to a traditional Republican voter. 913-408-7957 as we get it rolling on a post-Iowa caucuses frigid Tuesday morning. It is, what do we got here? -7 degrees as we kick off the show this morning. So how about that? Bundle up. A lot of schools are closed again across the region, so we're going to be talking about that and much more throughout the morning here on KCMO. I do have to get into the school thing later in the hour because I'm seeing a lot of parents complaining, and by the way, rightfully so. Not about school being closed today, but about the last month in general. We'll get to it all coming up in a busy Tuesday show. Pete Mundo on 95.7 FM KCMO. Ooh, the text line is spicy this morning. All over the map on the text line. I love it. Good morning. Welcome in. I don't love this weather. This morning was the first time since we got this burst of cold air. I guess that would have been, Friday? It came through really and got super cold. Or I just got up and I'm walking into my garage and I'm like, I'm so sick of this crap. I'm sick of, getting into my car, not opening the garage door until I get in the car, turn the car on. And it's cold when the snow that fell on my car yesterday driving home was still on it. Like all of the snow was still on it, despite the fact that the car was sitting in the garage for the last Give or take 13, 14 hours. You've got to be kidding me. Now, Iowa last night, big win for Donald Trump, 30-point victory. On the text line, a lot of you obviously are happy and, crowing and celebrating and giving all different kinds of opinions here. 913-408-7957. Pete, I don't care about the college educated. They are useful idiots. Well, that's not very nice.
Such a nice man.
Listen, you need them to win. I don't care what you think about them. It's like if some college voter said, I don't care about small town rural people. They're a bunch of useful idiots. No, the goal is to win in November. And calling people names that you need to vote for your preferred candidate is not smart politics. Heck, even last night, what did you hear from Donald Trump? It was the first clip I played right off the top of the show.
Crowd. And I really think this is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together, whether it's Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative. It would be so nice if we could come together and straighten out the world and straighten out the problem.
That was a side of Trump that maybe in his old age he's getting a little soft. And I mean that as a compliment. There's a guy who just wins the Iowa caucuses, and he's like, it's time for us to come together as a country. Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, and get this country back on track. Maybe he is softening a little bit for the better in his own age, because that wasn't the fire-breathing Donald Trump that we would have had even 4 years ago after a 30-point win. He would have been too busy mocking his primary opponents instead of saying, let's come together as a country. It's a 120-second clip, but who knows? People change, John. It's not impossible.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to describe or find a word for what he must be feeling, because he does this nice little cadence and he elongates the vowels.
Yeah.
Right?
He was feeling himself last night.
Content is the word, right. But yeah, confident.
Yes. He's already thinking about November. He's not thinking about New Hampshire. He's thinking about November.
Got that interesting little speech pattern he does.
Yes. Yeah. And he sounds like a guy who is already trying to appeal to those who either maybe didn't vote for him in 2020 after voting for him in 2016, or even those who didn't vote for him either time around. He made a pitch to that voter last night. Think about that. Also on the text line, Pete, mark my words, Democrats want Donald Trump. Well, that's been a concern of mine for a long time. But here's the thing. The polling shows that in many cases, Trump is stronger than Ron DeSantis in a head-to-head against Joe Biden. Now, Nikki Haley, a lot of the polls shows Nikki Haley creaming Joe Biden, whereas Donald Trump beats Joe Biden, but not by as wide of a margin as Nikki Haley. So do the Democrats think that Trump is their best bet? I believe a large portion of them do, because they don't know what else to run on. They've got Trump and they've got abortion. They can't run on the economy. They can't run on foreign policy. They can't run on much when it comes to domestic policy. They can run, and they know how to run on Trump, and they know how to run on abortion. So I understand that thought process on the text line. But here's the thing. Trump looks to be getting stronger in some of the national polling. Now, maybe you say, well, the legal woes are really going to get hot and heavy here throughout the spring and summer, and then they're really going to lay the hammer down on him, and he's going to go off the chain, and he's going to turn off suburban voters, and that's going to be it for Donald Trump. It's not impossible that happens, but remember, Joe Biden's in office. His approval rating is, according to a poll that came out this week, 33%. That is as low as a number as we've seen in easily 15 plus years. You can't win re-election with a 33% approval rating. You just can't do it. There's no way. So that's the best part for Donald Trump. Now, maybe there's a little bit of a bounce back here for Joe. I mean, maybe the economy does have this soft landing that's being talked about, And maybe Joe is able to cobble together some kind of pitch to the American people that convinces enough people that, you know what, 4 more years of Biden is less offensive to me than 4 more years of Donald Trump. We've seen both stories over the last 7-8 years, and maybe Joe is able to convince enough people that as much as he's comatose, you know what, I can't get myself to go for that guy, Don. That's entirely possible. But the polling wouldn't suggest that as we sit here right now on a frigid January 16th day. That's what's pretty obvious. 913-408-7957. On the text line, Pete, these Trumpers who are short-sighted about the college-educated woman voter, along with the 24-year-old college woman, the soccer moms, if they think they are unimportant, they're not thinking straight. Trump will not win because of them. That's on the text line at 913-408-7957. He's got to win some of them over. And that brings up a crazy idea. Trump was asked here in the last 24 to 48 hours about, or one of his top campaign people were asked about, VP candidates. And they said no shot on Vivek Ramaswamy, which good job by Trump on that. Vivek is the ultimate huckster. But they wouldn't say no on Nikki Haley. Listen, whatever you think about Donald Trump, he's not dumb. He knows he needs the voters that texter just alluded to. College-educated females, soccer moms. How does he get them back? Is Nikki Haley his ticket in part to getting them back? She might be. And I know a lot of Trump people are going to hate the idea of Nikki Haley ever being close to the White House and Donald Trump. But Trump, above all else, cares about winning. And if he thinks Nikki Haley can help deliver him that victory, and she might be a small piece of the puzzle, then you know what? He's going to strongly consider it. And not that I'm wild about Nikki Haley. I'm really not. But I'd much rather her than someone who's just going to solidify a MAGA base that you don't need to solidify, because Trump solidifies the base better than anybody. He doesn't need Carrie Lake or Sarah Huckabee Sanders. He's on the ticket. He doesn't need them. He needs someone who, as that texter noted, is going to bring some of those folks that might be on the fence. And we'll see what he does. News coming up in 2 minutes. And then I know some of you are going to want to start off a tirade Tuesday on the schools right now. My goodness. We'll get to it with you coming up on KCMO. How many of you are getting up this morning on another frigid Tuesday across the Kansas City region and realizing that you've got the kids at home once again today? No school. And I saw some folks in Kansas City tweeting about this yesterday, including our own board op extraordinaire, Mark Van Sickle, who is set to return to the show. We're going to miss Garner, by the way. I just want to make sure the audience knows that. We're going to miss you, man. You've done outstanding work these last few weeks.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing it.
Absolutely. So he's not going to be a stranger, by the way. For those wondering, a little behind the scenes, Garner, we got 6 radio stations here. Garner is going to be helping all of us out once he's done with his time here filling in for Mark. So you're going to be around.
Yep, I'll be around.
And we're glad that you're going to be around. So you're rocking and rolling,
Thank
man.
you.
It's been a lot of fun. So Mark is set to return on Monday. And I think Mark's starting to itch to get out of the house. That's just the vibe I get. Yesterday, he was tweeting, as were other folks I follow in Kansas City who have kids who are older than mine. Mine are 5 and 2, and third one's on the way, but they're not in school yet. That since Christmas break let out the week of December 18th, I know every school was different in the region, but that was the week that school let out across Kansas City. It was either that Monday the 18th as late as Friday the 22nd. And if you're a parent, I know you all have that date in your mind. But for some of you, your kids have been in the classroom, in school, 2 days since Christmas break, winter break, whatever it's called, got let out. It is now January 16th. For some of you, that is nearly a month. and your kids have been in school twice over the last month, between the combination of winter break and days off due to, holidays, due to the weather. I know there's been some of those days where they're not in school, but the teachers are working. I forget what they call those days. But you're now going on a month where your kids have been in school for 2 days. So here's my solution to this, because I was thinking about it right around Christmas when I found out that a lot of kids were off for 2 weeks. Some of them were 2.5 weeks. Half the week of that December 18th week, the week of Christmas, which was a Monday, and then the entire week of New Year's, which came on a Monday as well. That's insane. Like, I remember as a kid, I might have been off a couple of days before Christmas, and then, of course, between Christmas and New Year's. But like this year, we would have been back to school Tuesday, January 2nd, or at the latest, Wednesday, January 3rd. But now it's like, 2.5 weeks off for Christmas break, and, we'll see you in the new year. And then, of course, the weather hits. And you've got these dangerously cold temperatures. You've got snow. But why don't they just shorten Christmas break? Why does Christmas break need to be 2 to 2.5 weeks? Because then you come back from the new year, and then you have the exact problems that we're dealing with. And now you got parents who have sent their kids to school 2 days over the last month, John Anthony.
Well, that's what happens when school starts after the Major League All-Star break.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're getting in X amount of days before the end of the year, so they're playing with house money on these off days.
Well, it's just, yeah, you're right. And now they're starting earlier than ever, it seems, right?
So say, we've already hit our 45-day mark.
How about instead of going to school on August 1st, which is what it seems like, even though it's really like August 10th.
Oh, it's after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Like July.
You watch the Major League Baseball All-Star game, and it's like, all right, kids, time to go back to school shopping.
Yep.
Why don't we just go to school Labor Day through like May 1st? Probably could do it. Stop having all these made-up days off. Yes, if you have the weather that is really bad, don't have school. Like today, I'm okay with there not being school today. It's -7. The wind chill's -30. Like, we don't need kids standing at the bus stop in this weather. I have no issues with school being off today. It's dangerously cold. Kids can get frostbite. Like, the roads are a mess. We had a jackknife tractor trailer on 35. Wendy's been telling you about on the traffic reports. I'm okay with school not being in today. But it's the fact that it was off for 2 to 2.5 weeks in some of your districts. And then you've had some of these other, built-in days off early in the new year. Combine that with the weather, and kids are not learning. Like, we've had enough of that going on for the last few years. We've learned that in the wake of COVID. Learning loss is real. But let's not do it to ourselves. Let's just have a compressed schedule, a longer summer. If you need days off for weather like today, fine. But the way to fix this is to not have a 2.5-week Christmas break. That's the way to fix this. 913-408-7957. Now, speaking of this cold weather, you had dozens of people who were treated for hypothermia-related concerns at the Chiefs-Dolphins game. The number came in yesterday afternoon. The Kansas City Fire Department spokesperson said the agency handled 69 calls at Arrowhead Stadium related to the weather. Of the nearly 70 calls KC first responders received at Arrowhead, 15 people were transported to a local hospital. 7 of those transported were for hypothermia, and 3 were for frostbite. I was talking to a prominent doctor yesterday who you would all know, and he had mentioned to me that he had done and treated somebody for frostbite here on the Kansas side of the state line who was out at Arrowhead. And he said they were going to be released yesterday after being in the hospital for a day and a half to 2 days. I mean, that's why when I was walking out of the game on Saturday night and I was as cold as I've ever been in my life, there were a couple of guys walking out to Lot D on the south side of the stadium through the tunnel that could not stand straight. They were being guided by a friend or, a significant other. They were as trashed as you could be. And I remember sitting there and saying to myself, man, these guys might have frostbite and they don't even know it. Like, that's the scariest proposition. When you're so cold and it's that cold out and you don't even know it, that's why the Chiefs were letting people bring water bottles into the game on Saturday. They wanted folks to stay hydrated. Because if you stay hydrated and you're not totally drunk, you at least know when you're cold. If you're too drunk, you're not going to shiver. So you had several dozen calls to Arrowhead Stadium on Saturday night tied to the frostbite. And frankly, I'm surprised it wasn't more. I guess that's a testament to Kansas Cityans knowing how to dress in negative 30-degree wind chills when you're going to be standing out there for 3 to 4 hours. That's a testament to all of us who actually showed up and knew how to dress for that game. But that is a ugly number. 70 people per the KC Fire Department dealing with some kind of frostbite, hypothermia, whatever it might be, out at the game on Saturday night. But that's also a diehard right there. That's what that is. So now, as John Anthony noted, team goes out to Buffalo for another Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes classic rematch. Two teams played a great regular season game. Of course, that was the controversial Kadarius Toney game, offsides game. And now they're meeting for a spot in the AFC Championship game. It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. 913-408-7957. That is the studio line and the text line as we roll through a Tuesday morning on KCMO. Forget anything policy-wise. Forget anything January 6th. The most concerning thing that I saw from Donald Trump came last night as he rolled his way to a victory in the Iowa caucuses by 30 points over Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. Trump came in at 51, DeSantis 21, and Nikki Haley at 19. I went to the Drudge Report last night about 9 o'clock, right as Trump was announced the winner, probably around 7:30. It was early. So maybe it was really like 8 o'clock. I go to drudgereport.com, and it's a big picture of Donald Trump, and it says here in the big photo, Don delivers Iowa. That's the headline from the Drudge Report. And it's Trump last night with his, suit on. He's got his hat on, and he's carrying in his hands 8 boxes of Casey's Pizza. He's rocking 8 boxes of Casey's Pizza up there in Iowa last night.
He knows what's up.
Hey, well, I think he's pandering. There's no way a guy that lived in New York City for most of his life was tanking some of that disgusting pizza from Casey's. There's no way you can tell me that's the case. Trump is now the ultimate politician. He can tell you he's an outsider all he wants. But when you're Donald Trump and you're delivering and theoretically eating Casey's Pizza, this is the biggest misstep for Donald Trump since he entered the arena of politics back in 2015 when he came down the escalator at Trump Tower, John.
When in Rome. Pete, when in Rome.
That's all right. Well, see, I didn't see what was inside the box, but at least we don't have Mark here to defend the forsaken taco pizza that I know some of you might try to convince me is actually good pizza. But, man, I've had one Casey's Pizza in my life. And it was, about 2 years ago at this time when some of you were ribbing me about Casey's Pizza. And I was out in, I think I was in Blue Springs. I was out in Blue Springs, and I had to get some gas, and I said, you know what, I'm going to stop here at this Casey's. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to try this Casey's Pizza. Just like I tried that filet of fish from McDonald's after some of you were crowing about it a couple of months back. And the Casey's Pizza was just as leathery as I expected. There was nothing to it. Now, some of you claim that you have to get the pie from Casey's. You can't just get a slice. You got to get the pie. And in fairness, I have not gotten the pie. But when the slice is that bad, I don't understand how the pie could be any good. Like, it can be a little warmer. Maybe it's a little better context. But if you think that a slice of pizza can be as bad as it is from Casey's and somehow the pie makes it better, well, we're splitting hairs here. It can't be that much better. You cannot improve the pie substantially enough to make up for an awful slice of pizza. I'm just going to leave it at that. But the Trumpster was delivering 8 boxes of Casey's Pizza. I don't know if it was to one of the caucuses last night, but I put up the photo on my Facebook page, Pete Mundo on KCMO, and the comments were pretty funny. Deb writes here, I love Casey's Pizza, and I love it even more now.
She's a real beauty.
That is from Deb on our Facebook page. Larry says it's pretty darn good pizza. Like, what's the other go-to? I don't know, Larry. Anything else? Like, literally anything? And then Larry got a little
Quick
personal.
Trip's got pizza.
Do they?
Yeah, they do.
Do they do pizza?
Oh, yeah.
See, I can't envision the pizza from Quick Trip. Now I got to try the pizza from Quick Trip, John.
Well, the oddity is I've seen people order a pie from Quick Trip.
Really?
Yeah, the ones that have the kitchens that have been remodeled.
I got one of those by my house.
Yeah.
I got to go check that out. I did not realize they did pizza there.
Realizing where the bar is set here in the Midwest, I will say, it's not bad.
It's not bad?
No.
Okay. Well, listen, there's some great pizza in this town. I just don't think that Casey's is one of them. I mean, there's plenty of really good pizza.
I think you could extend the argument that any place's whole pie is better than just a slice.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So that doesn't defend Casey's, really.
You're
you
right.
can say that about everybody, I feel.
That's a very good point. No, we've got, there's plenty good pizza, but I'm just here to break the news for those that need it. That Casey's is not one of them. On the text line, 913-408-7957. Pete, you're nothing but a hater. Also on the text line, Casey's sells the third most pizza in America. I'm not defending it. It's just a stat. Well, I don't know if that's an accurate stat or not. I will take you at your word on the text line. But even if it is, what does that say about America?
Well, I mean, come on. When you got a road game in Pawhuska, out there in Oklahoma, what are you going to do? Right? Again, when in Rome. Right?
Yeah. Well, hey, Garner's been very quiet in there. I need to know, Garner, as a guy coming down from St. Joe every day, you've had a good run the last 5-6 weeks filling in for Mark, but I need to know where you're at on Casey's.
Okay, here's my Casey's story.
Okay, hold on. He's setting this up, John. This can't be a good sign.
A couple of years ago,
Okay,
I was at a friend's house, and they ordered Casey's Pizza, and I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. This has been 2 or 3 years ago now.
Was that your first time having it?
Yes, that was my first time having it.
Okay, right.
But I have to say this, the other night when the weather was really bad and I stayed in a hotel here,
Okay.
I stopped at a Casey's, filled up my car with gas, and got a pizza. And I was like, well, I'll just take this back to the hotel.
Yeah.
So I got some soda and a pizza at
Yeah.
Casey's, took it back to the hotel, and it was terrible. I did not like it. I don't know if it was overcooked, but when you described it as leathery, that's pretty accurate.
So it was right around here, right around the station.
Yeah.
Okay, don't tell us which, but you went to a Casey's right around the station. You got gas, you got a full pie.
Yeah, got a full pizza. Yep.
And it was awful.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, I did not like it. Now, my first experience there was good. I did enjoy it, but was
the first experience up in St.
Yeah,
Joe?
it was. Yeah.
Maybe the key is this. Trying to think this through here. Maybe the key to getting good Casey's pizza is being in a smaller community.
I don't know.
Is it possible?
Maybe a little
You
more
would
pride in
think
the
that
effort.
they would have the same pizza everywhere you go. I mean, just like McDonald's or any major fast food chain, you go to a McDonald's in New York versus California and you get the same product.
Yeah. Well, something's fishy here about this.
If you know the pizza maker, you might get a little something.
A little
I had a buddy who did great Canadian bacon. It wasn't quite the same one you would get.
Yeah. 913-408-7957. Wow, suddenly we got the Quick Trip pizza fans coming out of the woodwork on the text line. My goodness.
Yeah, I think it's a new front runner.
Wow. Okay.
Again, it's like when you're grabbing and going,
If I haven't eaten in days because I've been held hostage, then yeah, Casey's Pizza will be good. I will love Casey's Pizza. But that's the only scenario I can think of in my own mind where I would enjoy it. Pete, Trump's just supporting local. Casey's is Iowa-based. Well, listen, we're just having fun here. Relax. It's going to be okay. All right? There's nothing to talk about. Trump won by 30 points, so the damn thing's over. So now I got to talk about Trump delivering 8 Casey's pizzas.
What pizza going to have in New Hampshire?
Bottom of the hour, Dave Traubert's going to be here from the Kansas Policy Institute. Former Kansas Governor Jeff Collier will be joining the show at 8 o'clock. He was up in Iowa yesterday as a Donald Trump surrogate, so that's all coming up. Next, I got to give you this feel-good story coming out of Miss America. You know, we don't hear a lot about these kinds of all-American stories from Miss America, right? I feel like with the beauty pageants now, the only time it makes headlines is when a dude is winning a woman's beauty pageant. Like, that's it. But this is a great all-American story about a Miss America winner that I kind of just stumbled upon on the internet last night. We'll share it with you coming up on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Good analysis from Bill O'Reilly, who is going to be on the show tomorrow morning, 8:05. Set the alarm and join us for Bill O'Reilly tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock on KCMO. And I watched Bill last night on News Nation. Saw him on there last night and did a very good job, as you would expect. I was flipping around, and I thought News Nation did a very good job with the Iowa caucuses coverage. The rest, I'm never going to watch MSNBC. CNN does an okay job on its election night stuff. I mean, when they're not putting on hacks to analyze it. And, Fox, I mean, listen, love Fox, work there, have friends there. But last night, it was just highly predictable. Like, I've got Jim Jordan on there, stroking Donald Trump, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. The guy had a huge win, but I'm not learning anything from hearing Jim Jordan kiss Donald Trump's ass. Like, I don't learn anything from that. I enjoyed listening to people like Bill O'Reilly on News Nation last night and getting some different perspectives and different opinions, but I wasn't hearing just some of the in-the-tank stuff. Either Trump's the worst thing ever, democracy is at risk, or Donald Trump is the second coming. There's Jesus, and then there's Donald Trump. Like, he won. He did a great job as president. He will do a very good job policy-wise if he wins again. But can I just get some, normal coverage, please? So I thought News Nation did a pretty good job last night when I was flipping around. And it really was between that and Fox News. That was kind of the two I was watching back and forth on the coverage. Now, you want to talk about an overlooked story. This is from the Daily Mail, and I don't even know how I found this. But this is the kind of stuff that we should be celebrating, and I just put it up on the KCMO Talk Radio Facebook page. You can see it there, and you can share it there. Because this is the kind of stuff we should all be celebrating from Miss America. So Miss Colorado makes history as she becomes the first serving U.S. soldier ever to be crowned Miss America. Air Force pilot, 22 years old, training to be a Top Gun fighter pilot after graduating from Harvard. Madison Marsh is her name. She's 22. And she was crowned Miss America on Sunday. She's from right to our south, Fort Smith, Arkansas. She was crowned Miss Colorado back in May. And she's the first active duty officer from any military branch to win Miss America. And she won the award in Orlando, Florida on Sunday night. And I feel like the only time we hear about things that go on with any of these pageants anymore now, because we can't celebrate women being beautiful for some reason. I don't know why that's become taboo. You can celebrate women being beautiful without being a pig and a misogynist and an idiot, right? That. I think that's possible, but now we can't do that. The only thing we can celebrate in beauty pageants is when guys enter them and pretend to be women. That's the only time these beauty pageants make news anymore. And this is worth celebrating. So, once again, Madison Marsh, 22 years old, first active duty officer from any branch to represent at the national level of the Miss America organization. And, by the way, well-deserving when you look at her background, when you look at her service, when you combine that with, yes, how she looks as well, and the links on the Facebook page if you are so inclined to go check it out this morning. But you had 11 women who took part in the final 4 rounds of competition. A fitness showcase, a hot topics discussion round, which replaced the more traditional Q&A, a talent performance, and an evening gown presentation. Then you have the 5 finalists announced. Marcia spoke on the topic of drugs in America as she recalled her late mother's battle with pancreatic cancer. She's got an incredible story. And if this was anybody else, I feel like this would be headline news Sunday, yesterday morning. And I just kind of came across it last night. I'm like, well, I think that this KCMO audience would love to know this story. 913-408-7957 is the studio line and the text line here on KCMO Talk Radio. So good for her, John. I love this.
Well, she's in the military and proficient with a weapon.
Yeah.
You can't really have that.
Well, yeah, you're right. Oh, we cannot have women proficient with weapons who can defend themselves from the worst people in society. I mean, we can't be bragging about that because someone like her doesn't need the government, right? So we don't want to tell that story. That wouldn't be good as a headline story on Morning Joke or something like that. They wouldn't really want to go down that road. So that's a great point there. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday. I hope you're staying warm. Are we up to -5 yet? It was -7 when we started the show. It is, no, I still got -7. So we're holding steady. But it looks like we're going to get to a balmy 13 degrees by 3 o'clock this afternoon. So I can't wait. I'm fired up for that. I got this heated vest on again since we got, 7 windows here in the studios. Beautiful studios, but you can't keep the studio warm in this weather. Just can't do it. So I got this thing for the Chiefs game, and I've been wearing it basically ever since. I knew it would come in handy. I never thought it'd come in handy at work doing what I do for a living, but here we are. Dave Traubert, Kansas Policy Institute, has more thoughts on Laura Kelly wanting to cut your taxes. Believe it or not. We'll get to that on the Kansas side next.